Ending a trilogy is made monumentally more difficult when it also might mean ending a career. In a recent interview with Polygon, legendary Star Wars author Timothy Zahn revealed that he currently has no plans to write additional Star Wars books, which means that there's a distinct possibility that Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil will be the capstone of this author's amazing career. So not only will Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil represent the finale of an amazing trilogy, the second canon trilogy of Thrawn and the third Thrawn trilogy overall, but it may also represent the capstone of the writing of Timothy Zahn, the man who created this legendary character in the first place. No pressure, right? Zahn's career with the Grand Admiral has passed the chasm from legends into canon, creating a character that is so well known, so integral to Star Wars as any character from the original films. That's a huge achievement, and Lesser Evil possibly being the capstone of Zahn's career just makes this book all the more fitting. And it is especially fitting because this may be the most Zahn book ever written. Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Emery, content creator here at Youtini, and I'm going to take you through our review of Lesser Evil, this especially important book in Timothy Zahn's Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. Now, as always, our reviews will contain only minor spoilers of the plot, things that already generally tend to be known, so unless you're looking to go in with no knowledge of the plot whatsoever, this review will be spoiler free. And as always, our reviews are compiled by our team of excellent reviewers who receive the book early, read it, all give their thoughts, and then compile this review. So it's a team collaborative effort, which gives you the best idea of exactly how good this book is, what it's about, and if it's worth reading for you. So without further ado, let's jump into Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil. Let's start with the plot. So Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil picks up where the previous book in the trilogy Greater Good left off. If you need a quick refresher on the plot details of that, be sure to check out our summary, which will be linked down below. But this book picks up where Thrawn is trying to hold together the Chiss Ascendancy even as the mysterious and villainous Jixtus is trying to tear it apart. And as always, fan favorite characters like Ar'alani, Bakif, Samakro all appear in this book and put their reputations and careers on the line to test their allegiances with Thrawn. And Thrawn, meanwhile, continues not to care about his reputation, but instead the greater good of the Chiss Ascendancy, protecting it from outside threats. Combine that with Patriarch Thurfian's unwittingly smooth political intrigue and, of course, a new species under Jixtus that's a threat to the Chiss Ascendancy, and memory chapters that tend to be some of the most emotionally gripping chapters we've seen so far in this trilogy, and you've got a really dense book that makes a really great end to Zahn's amazing Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. Now, make no mistake, this much intrigue and plot packed into such a volume can be a little bit difficult to follow, especially at the beginning chapters when things are starting to unfold and it's really kind of technical. There's a lot of intrigue going on, but once you really start to see the bigger picture, once you figure out what's going on, pages start to fly by, just like they have in the previous books of this trilogy. One of the surprises of this book, though, is how emotionally involved the memory chapters were. The memory chapters have always kind of served to illuminate certain relationships or character aspects of Thrawn, but this book focuses on Thrawn's relationship with Thras, the way they become like brothers, and those chapters are especially heartbreaking. They show us a side of Thrawn we haven't really seen, given Thras's fate, which we learned earlier in the trilogy. So from Zahn, we always seem to expect the unexpected. We never know where the story is going to go, but we always expect that it's going to wrap up in some magnificent way. And so Zahn's combination of emotionally gripping chapters with some of the most ambitiously technical starship battles we've seen yet really culminates in this beautiful finale that is at once surprising and yet incredibly Zahn. And that all of that is why we gave the plot of this book an 8.8 out of 10. Now let's move on to the characters. So for a trilogy that has focused less on characters than a lot of other books in the canon, there sure are a lot of characters to keep track of. Now with Lesser Evil, we see some of the ancillary characters falling by the wayside, and characters we've come to love like Thalius and Thurfian really take the spotlight and finish the arcs that they started way back in Chaos Rising. And though characters aren't always the main focus of Zahn's books, one of the most rewarding aspects of Lesser Evil is seeing how much each of the characters has gone through a personal arc, how much they've grown and changed. You know, as you read this book, you start to realize that each of these characters has been crafted on this wonderful journey of character development, of, you know, finding allegiances, finding who they are, developing their own personal story, and we've been able to follow along on that whole journey. And in that journey, we get to learn a lot about the military, the politics, and the world of the Chiss Ascendancy. So it's world building through background characters, series-long character arcs. I mean, what's not to love here? Regardless, though, Zahn's crowning achievement with Lesser Evil is the completion of the character arc of Thrawn. We've seen him rise as a military prodigy, a genius, but also his shortfalls in the political sphere. But this book really culminates in developing those aspects of Thrawn, paving the way for him to join the Empire, as we know he does from later books in the series, in a really astonishing way. And as we've mentioned, the final piece to the puzzle of Thrawn is the memory chapters with Thras, which shows a completely different, emotionally vulnerable side of Thrawn that we're not used to seeing. And then, of course, opposite from Thrawn, we've got the villainous Jixtus, who, in the final pages of Greater Good, is revealed to be a Grisk. And Jixtus is a match for Thrawn just about in terms of smarts and his ability to anticipate his opponent's moves. So the battle between the two of them that goes on both inside the battlefield and primarily outside of the direct battlefield is just a true sight to behold. So despite an expansive character list that can add some detail and be a little bit confusing at times, Lesser Evil really focuses on the characters that we've come to know and love in the series, really completes their arcs in a beautiful, satisfying way. And that's why we give the characters of this book a 9.2 out of 10. Now let's move on to originality. So back in our review of Chaos Rising, which feels like eons ago, but really wasn't that long ago, we really praised the book for creating something so new, illuminating the Chiss Ascendancy in a way we've never seen before. And though that book was kind of the catalyst for all of this, it's really impressive how Zahn has managed to create an entire hierarchical structure for a part of the galaxy we've never seen before throughout this trilogy. The originality of that work cannot be understated. But beyond the borders of politics and hierarchy, we have, well, the beyond, the Force. We have a completely new view of the Force shown through the eyes of not the Jedi, but characters like the Skywalkers and the Magus, much in the way that Ronan redefined the way we think about the Force earlier this year. Lesser Evil also tends to challenge our conceptions of the Force, the way we think about it through purely Jedi terms. So from the breathtaking discoveries about the Force from a completely new perspective to the just vast amount of new plot details that are revealed about the chaos, Timothy Zahn really weaves an amazing story through this trilogy, and it's a beautiful capstone to what has been his Star Wars writing career. And you have to wonder, was this just meant to be a story about Thrawn, or did Zahn intend to create a world of all of his own? Because if he intended that, he definitely achieved it. Zahn's creation of this beautiful new world in the chaos, combined with his ideas about the Force, are what we give the originality of this book a 9.5 out of 10. Now let's move on to writing. So few writing styles in the Star Wars expanded universe are as distinct as Timothy Zahn's. Once you've read one of his books, you can kind of easily identify his writing in any of his works. And that's not to say that Zahn's style isn't evolving or that it's not improving, because Zahn has noticeably grown in his writing throughout the book as he's mastered this writing style. He combines the technical aspects of authors like Freed with the character development of authors like Scott or Gray to create a beautiful masterpiece that weaves both technical details and emotional character development. And the former part of Lesser Evil kind of focuses more on the technical aspects, but by the end of the book, we're really invested in the characters themselves. So if you've been tripped up before by technical jargon that seems to need a collegiate degree in engineering, or the use of parenthetical phrases that necessitate a reread, you might find yourself a little bit confused here. But if you're willing to dive into that style of prose again, you're going to find some of the most rewarding writing we've had in Star Wars. And this is a book that lends itself well to long reading sessions. So if your reading habits are to get in bed, read a chapter or two for the night, and then put it down, you might want to try to carve out a little bit more intentional time, because Zahn's method of writing lends itself really well to longer reading sessions, building momentum, uncovering new details about the plot, and once you get really deep into it, you can't stop. Timothy Zahn is nothing if not a master of the long game, and not just the long game in terms of an individual book or even a trilogy, but the long game in terms of Thrawn's entire career. It's clear that Zahn considered Thrawn's entire character in canon back when he started with the original Thrawn trilogy in canon and even Heir to the Empire. This trilogy, if it is indeed Zahn's final work in Star Wars, is a culmination of everything he's written about Thrawn, of the character he's been so integral to create and establish as a part of Star Wars. This trilogy gives us the final details of that character, the final moments, the final things we need to fill in our history, our knowledge of Thrawn. So our final score for writing in Lesser Evil is an 8.7 out of 10. Now let's jump into the entertainment. There's something ridiculously entertaining about really large, high-stakes space battles, and it's no spoiler to say that Lesser Evil takes the cake in terms of space battles, scale, stakes, emotional development, and just pure entertainment. Stakes are high, alliances are tested, and in every space battle there's so much going on, there's so much potential for surprise that really keeps us on our toes. Every space battle feels filled with adrenaline because it's never just a military battle between the two, but there's always so much going on beneath the surface. Lesser Evil is the end of an epic, plain and simple. Throughout this trilogy, we've had the stages set, we've had so much intrigue, so much back and forth, the characters have developed to where they are, and Lesser Evil is where it all finally plays out on a huge stage, and that is ridiculously entertaining. There are choices, there are betrayals, there are rises, there are falls, there's the creations of legends and the destructions of legends, and all of that creates a beautiful end to this saga. It's the culmination of years of writing of Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, and it is a beautiful end to the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy and possibly to the run of Zahn's writing. This book is ridiculously entertaining, which is why our entertainment score is a 9.6 out of 10. Timothy Zahn has ended his time writing Thrawn in a way that is probably the most true to self writing we've seen in a while. Timothy Zahn writes Lesser Evil from a place of unabashed creativity, focus on character development and technical story development, a combination of all of the factors that make Zahn's writing so unique, so gripping, and such a favorite of Star Wars fans. So our final score for Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil is a 9.2 out of 10. Let's not diminish the feat that Timothy Zahn accomplished with this trilogy. You know, creating an entirely new world outside of the Star Wars galaxy as we know it is really difficult. Making us care about the characters in that story is even more difficult. So it's a good thing they brought on a legend to write this trilogy and to create that world. We're so glad that Zahn got to write this story, and we're even more glad to be able to witness it. So as we mentioned previously, this is a fantastic book and a great culmination to the trilogy, but if you need a refresher on the previous books in the trilogy, be sure to check out our recap to Greater Good and prior recap to Chaos Rising linked in the description below. And if you want to pick up the culmination of Zahn's Star Wars writing in audiobook format, stick around for this. Youtini has partnered with Audible to give you your first Star Wars audiobook completely free. That's right, all you have to do is head on over to youtini.com/audible, sign up for a free trial there, and you'll get your first Star Wars audiobook completely free. And this is the perfect one to pick up. The production quality of Star Wars audiobooks has always been incredible, and we're confident that this will be no different. Thanks for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.